Hi there and thank you for tuning in. In this video I will show you how to shoot exposure bracketing on the Nikon Z50, and I will be using two different menus. One is the big Nikon menu that you get into by pressing the menu button here to the right on the camera, and you can see now we're into it, and you can work with it with the touch screen, but you can also just use the command wheel. The other menu that I'll be using is what I call the eye menu. I'm not sure that's the official name, but there's a little eye on the menu, and if you hit that one, you can see you get into a much smaller menu here where you can set many things, and you can of course also use the touch screen here and go in and select various options here. Those are the two menus. They are the only menus I will be using, and I'll be switching to full screen so you can see the rear LCD and what I'm doing. But basically I'm just using these two menus to show you how it's set up. Use the table of contents below. I believe there is both one in the description and in the timeline, so you can jump to whatever is of interest to you. So the first thing I do is I hit the menu button, and then I get into the menu system here, and I go down to the shooting menu, and you find the bracketing set up in here. It's a quite deep menu. You can see here there's a lot of items here. If I just scroll down, you can see the bar to the right shows me where I am in the menu, and you can see here I have auto bracketing. A little tip for you: if you are at the top of the menu, you can just go one up, and then you actually get to the bottom of the menu system. That's a little bit faster sometimes. When you go into the auto bracketing sub menu, you can see there are three things to set. First is what to bracket for, the second is the number of shot, and the third is the number of stops that you change for each time you change picture. If we take the auto bracketing first, you can auto bracket for exposure, white balance, and ADL, and I must admit I only use it for exposure. I have never used the other options, and what I will be showing today is just the exposure bracketing. The number of shots you can choose between is 0, 3 and 5. 5 gives a little bit more work in post, 3 is what I normally use, and 0 is the same as switching auto bracketing off. So for this demonstration I select 3. If you lower the increments below 2 stops as I had in the example, you can actually go higher and take more than 5 shots. So if you set it at 0.7 or 0.3, you will see that it allows you to take 7 or even 9 images here from the Nikon manual. You can see the combinations. It's a lot of combinations, but it's just more of the same. And then the increments, I would suggest you try out 1 stop for each, but of course you can go higher. You can really get some differences between the images here, but I would suggest that you take 1 stop just for starters. And then when you're done, you just push OK, and then you can see now you're going back to the menu above the auto bracketing menu. But in here, just to show you, exposure bracketing, 3 images and 1 stop in difference. That's it. The other menu you need to set is super important, and that is in the eye menu, where you have something called release mode. This is important, and I get many questions around this, so please make sure that you set up your camera so you are not shooting in single frame, but you're shooting in one of the continuous ones. It doesn't really matter which one it is. It's subject to your liking, of course. We can just take continuous low here for the demonstration here, but the thing is, if you're shooting in single mode, you need to hit the shutter 3 times. I get so many questions from people saying it doesn't work, it won't shoot. It's probably because you forgot to set it in one of the continuous modes, so that you only need to hold down the shutter and let the camera do its work. So make sure, select this one. And now we're actually ready to give bracketing a try. So here I have created a scene where the bright is very bright. You can see the light to the right, and the dark is very dark. You can see there is a shadow to the left. And we'll see how the camera does with the bracketing. It says AE-BKT, and that's because it's in bracketing mode, and it says 3 out of 3. And that shows you that it's ready to take 3 images. So if I hit the shutter and just hold it down, you could hear the camera made 3 images. And if we just walk through them, push the play button, bottom right, you can see 1, 2, and 3. You can see the first one, you can set up this order, but The first one is the normally exposed. Then there's the underexposed. You can see the histogram move to the left. And then there is the overexposed, where you can see the histogram to the right. Also notice how the plus minus changes. You can see there just below the P. It says nothing with the normal exposure. It says -1 where it's underexposed, and it says +1 where it's overexposed. So that's basically how it works. And now we're ready to take these 3 images into Lightroom. So here in Lightroom, I have imported the 3 images. And if I just mark all of them, and then go to Photo, and then I say Photo Merge, there it was. Oops, and then I select HDR. And what it will start doing is showing me a preview here, as you can see. And then if I just hit the merge button here, you can see that it now will bring up a 4th image here when it's done. Boom, there it is. And you can see if you just take develop and go into this one to look at it, you can see here that it's called HDR at the end of the name. And if we look at this one and then the original, the normally exposed one, and just compare these two next to each other, you can see that the HDR version has more details in the shadow and it looks less blown out in the bright parts. And if I just go back here and into develop mode, and then just take a look at the histogram for the merged image, you can see here that the histogram doesn't touch the sides here in the frame, whereas if I go to, especially for the underexposed, that of course that one touches the left hand side, the overexposed touches the right hand side, and then the merged one stay clear of the edges up here in the histogram. So I think this illustrates how it is done, and you have now recovered some details here in the shadow, and you have made sure here that the highlights are not blown out. Okay, that's it from me. I hope this was useful. As always, happy shooting. Take care. Bye bye.